The air in the room is thick and silent, a vacuum where breath used to be. My sister's hand is outstretched, palm up, and nestled in it. Catching the weak afternoon light, sits my ring. Not a ring. The ring. My engagement ring. The one my husband gave me. The one he stole from me. His face, across the room, is frozen. A mask of absolute, bewildered shock. His eyes dart between the ring in my sister's hand and my own face, a flicker of panic igniting behind the usual arrogance. He looks like he's seen a ghost, or maybe like the ground just disappeared beneath him. He opens his mouth, but no sound comes out. Let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It helps me more than you know. Life before felt solid. Not perfect, but stable. We had our routine, our small house filled with things we'd collected over years, the quiet rhythm of two lives intertwined. He was Mark, my husband. For 7 years, he was my horizon, the person I built my future around. We met in college. He was charming, confident, maybe a little too smooth, but I saw it as charisma back then. He made me laugh. He made me feel seen. My sister, Clara, was always complicated. Younger by 5 years, she drifted through life, a perpetual student of whatever caught her fleeting interest. Art history, then sociology, then creative writing. She cycled through majors, through jobs, through boyfriends, leaving a trail of unfinished projects and borrowed money. I always felt a protective pull towards her, maybe mixed with a quiet frustration. Our parents were present but distant, caught up in their own world, and I often felt like Clara's unofficial guardian. When Mark proposed, it felt like the capstone on my life, the solid proof that everything was falling into place. The ring itself wasn't a family heirloom, but something we chose together, or rather, something he chose after listening carefully to what I loved. It was a simple band of white gold, elegant, with a single pear-shaped diamond that caught the light beautifully. It wasn't ostentatious, but it felt mine. It felt like us. He slipped it onto my finger, and the weight of it, the promise of it, felt perfect. We married 6 months later. The ring became a part of me, a constant sparkle on my left hand, a silent reminder of vows exchanged, of a shared future unfolding. It was there through quiet mornings, loud dinners with friends, lazy weekends, busy workdays. It was just there, a symbol I never questioned. The first tremor, the almost imperceptible shift, happened subtly. Mark started working late more often. He'd always been driven, but this was different. He was more guarded, his phone seemed glued to his hand, screen down. He was short-tempered when I asked simple questions about his day. The air in the house grew thin, brittle. Then the ring was gone. I noticed it on a Tuesday. I was getting ready for work, reaching for my jewelry box. My hand went to the velvet slot where I always kept the ring when I wasn't wearing it, washing dishes, gardening. The slot was empty. My breath hitched. I checked the bathroom counter, the sink, everywhere I could have possibly left it. Panic started a cold crawl up my spine. I tore the bedroom apart. Under the bed, in the laundry basket, checking pockets of discarded clothes. Nothing. My heart hammered against my ribs. It wasn't just a piece of jewelry, it was the ring. It was everything it represented. Had it been stolen? Had I lost it somewhere outside? I replayed my steps from the last time I remembered seeing it. Sunday night, I'd taken it off to bake. I was sure I'd put it back in the box. Mark came home that night, and I was a wreck. My voice was shaking as I told him it was missing. He seemed detached. He didn't rush to help me look. He just sort of shrugged and said, "Are you sure? You're always misplacing things." That stung. I wasn't careless. Not with this. Days turned into a week. The knot in my stomach tightened. I filed a police report, more out of desperation than hope. It felt futile. A missing ring in a city of millions. Mark remained oddly calm, almost dismissive. He told me to stop worrying, he'd get me a new one. A new one? The casualness of it felt like another betrayal, though I couldn't articulate why then. It wasn't about the value, it was about that ring. The real shock came 2 weeks later. Clara was in town. She'd called, breezy and cheerful, saying she wanted to take me out for coffee. We met at a small cafe downtown. We were chatting, and she gestured with her hand as she spoke. And I saw it. A flash of familiar brilliance on her ring finger. My blood ran cold. My eyes locked onto her hand. The pear-shaped diamond. The white gold band. It was unmistakably mine. The world tilted. My voice was suddenly thick, foreign. "Clara," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Where did you get that ring?" She froze, her smile faltering. Her eyes flickered, a quick, nervous glance away, then back to me. She mumbled something about a friend, lending it to her. A friend? Who lends an engagement ring? Especially that engagement ring? My ring. The air between us crackled. I knew, with a sickening certainty, that she was lying. And then the horrifying realization hit me. Mark. It had to be Mark. But why? How? I left the cafe abruptly, leaving her sitting there, looking bewildered or maybe guilty. I drove home in a daze, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. I unlocked the front door and saw Mark sitting on the couch, watching TV. The mundane scene felt grotesque, a normal frame around a monstrous secret. I stood there, gripping my car keys, the cold metal digging into my palm. "Where is it, Mark?" I asked, my voice flat and steady, laced with a dangerous calm. He turned, frowning. "Where's what?" "My ring. The one Clara is wearing." His face paled. The detached calm shattered. He stammered. "What? Clara? Wearing your— What are you talking about?" The denial was weak, pathetic. It confirmed everything. I walked over to him, standing directly in his line of sight. "Don't lie to me, Mark. I saw it. On her finger. The pear-shaped diamond. It's mine. You gave it to her, didn't you?" He sighed, a theatrical exhale, and ran a hand through his hair. He still wouldn't meet my eyes directly. Okay. Yes, I did. But it's not what you think." "Oh, isn't it?" My voice was rising now, the calm evaporating. What else could it possibly be? My husband giving my engagement ring to my sister? Please enlighten me. He launched into a convoluted story. Clara was in trouble. Big financial trouble. She needed money desperately. He didn't have cash readily available without me asking questions, so he'd taken the ring. Not to give to her permanently, he insisted, but as collateral. He'd given her the ring, she pawned it, he'd get the money, fix her problem, then get the ring back from the pawn shop, and put it back in my jewelry box before I ever noticed. A temporary solution, he called it. A secret favor for family. A secret favor? Using the symbol of our marriage? Without telling me? The sheer arrogance, the breathtaking disrespect, stole my words. He actually thought this was a rational explanation. He thought I would understand. He thought I would be okay with him essentially selling our engagement ring behind my back to fund some unknown crisis of my sister's. "You used my ring," I finally managed to say, the words heavy with disgust. "You used us. You lied to me. You involved her in this scheme." He became defensive. "She's family. She needed help. You wouldn't have understood. You would have judged her. And giving away my ring was a better option?" I shouted, the sound echoing in the silent house. "Lying to me was better than talking to me? Involving my sister in your deceit was somehow helping her?" The argument escalated quickly, spiraling into accusations and bitter recriminations. He accused me of being selfish, of not caring about my sister. I accused him of being a liar, a manipulator, of having no respect for me or our marriage. The ring, that beautiful symbol, had become a poison, seeping into every corner of our life together. I confronted Clara again, this time over the phone. She was tearful, apologetic, but her apologies felt weak, laced with excuses. She claimed she didn't know it was my engagement ring at first, just that Mark said he had something valuable he could lend her the money for. But she must have known. She saw me wearing it. She knew its significance. The tangled web of their lies suffocated me. The days that followed were a blur of emotional pain and practical confusion. Mark continued to act like I was overreacting. He promised to get the ring back. He even showed me a receipt from a pawn shop, dated shortly after the ring disappeared from my box. It felt like proof, but also just another layer of the sordid affair. He said he needed a few more weeks to get the money to buy it back. In the meantime, our marriage was a frozen wasteland. We lived in the same house, slept in the same bed, but we were strangers. The silence was deafening, punctuated only by his attempts to minimize what he had done or my cold, clipped responses. Every glance at my bare left hand was a fresh wound. I couldn't look at Clara without seeing the sparkle of that diamond on her finger. The thought of it being on her hand, passed there by my husband, made me physically ill. It wasn't just the ring. It was the ultimate symbol of betrayal, a triangulation of deceit involving the two people I should have been able to trust implicitly. I tried, for a brief, desperate time, to salvage something. To understand Mark's perspective, however warped. To understand Clara's desperation. But the more I tried, the more the lies and manipulation surfaced. He wasn't just remorseful. He was resentful that I hadn't made this easy for him. He still believed he was the hero in this story, helping his sister-in-law, making a temporary sacrifice. The idea that he thought he could just put the ring back, and I would never know, or if I did know, I would just accept it, was the most damning thing of all. It showed a fundamental lack of respect, a belief that my feelings, my trust, my sacred symbols, were disposable, barterable, less important than whatever crisis Clara was in, or maybe less important than whatever hold Clara had over him. Things got worse. The financial trouble Mark mentioned regarding Clara? It wasn't just a small debt. It was substantial. And it turned out Mark hadn't just lent Clara the ring to pawn. He had sold it to her, at a steep discount, and she was supposed to pay him back later. It was a convoluted scheme to get her a large sum of money quickly, outside of any paper trail, avoiding banks or anyone asking questions. He wasn't just helping her, he was complicit in something, and using my ring as the currency. When I pressed him on the true nature of Clara's financial woes, he grew defensive, then aggressive. His mask of the charming husband slipped entirely, revealing a cold, calculating man underneath. He had secrets, layers of them, and my ring was just the first tangible proof I'd stumbled upon. He started becoming openly hostile, accusing me of being paranoid, of trying to ruin Clara's life, of not being a supportive wife. He made threats, subtle at first, about leaving, about making my life difficult. The house became a battleground, thick with unspoken accusations and simmering rage. Clara, meanwhile, was avoiding me. She wouldn't answer my calls. When she did, she was cagey, defensive, repeating Mark's flimsy explanations. She was clearly tangled up in this, either willingly or out of fear of Mark, but she was choosing his side. My own sister. It was a deep, agonizing cut. I felt utterly alone. My marriage was a shell, my relationship with my sister was destroyed, and a precious symbol of my life was out there, a pawn in their deceitful game. I stopped sleeping. I lost weight. Every day felt like wading through mud. The helplessness was crushing. It wasn't just about the ring anymore. It was about being systematically lied to, gaslight, and betrayed by the two people closest to me. Everything I thought was real felt like a carefully constructed illusion that had just shattered. The thought of just walking away crossed my mind constantly. Leaving the house, leaving the marriage, leaving the wreckage behind. But something inside me rebelled. Why should I be the one to lose everything? Why should they get away with this? With using me, with lying to me, with stealing from me, literally and metaphorically. Sitting in the quiet of the house one evening, the silence amplifying my despair, I remembered something. Something significant that Mark didn't know. Something Clara didn't know. A secret I had kept for years, not out of malice, but out of a quiet sense of responsibility and a desire not to make Clara feel indebted. When Clara first started college, her scholarships and loans didn't cover everything. Our parents couldn't or wouldn't help significantly. Clara was on the verge of dropping out. She was heartbroken. Mark wasn't in the picture then. I was working a demanding job, saving every penny for a down payment on a future house, for my own future stability. I made a choice then. A quiet, deliberate choice. I emptied my savings account. All of it. Every single dollar I had painstakingly saved. I took out a private loan myself, putting my own future plans on hold. I cobbled together enough money, anonymously at first, channeling it through a trusted advisor at her university, framing it as an emergency grant, ensuring the funds went directly to tuition and housing. Later, I became her official guarantor for student loans, co-signing papers, taking on the financial risk myself, all without telling her the extent of my sacrifice. I never wanted her to feel like she owed me. I just wanted her to have the chance I had. I helped her graduate, get her degree, start her life. I paid off chunks of those loans over the years quietly from my own salary, while Mark thought I was just being frugal. He had no idea the true scale of my financial commitment to Clara's education. Clara thought she'd managed with a combination of small grants and her own minimal earnings, supplemented by those emergency funds she never fully understood. She never knew I was the anonymous donor. She never knew I was the one quietly shouldering the debt burden, ensuring her transcript wasn't held hostage by unpaid fees, ensuring she could walk across that graduation stage. Sitting there in the wreckage of my marriage, the memory of that sacrifice, that quiet act of love for my sister, felt like a spark in the darkness. They had taken my ring, a symbol of future commitment built on current trust. But I had given something far more substantial years ago, built on unconditional love, and they didn't even know it. The anger solidified into something colder, harder. This wasn't just about getting the ring back anymore. This was about proving them wrong. Proving that I wasn't just the wife who could be lied to and stolen from. Proving that my quiet strength, my hidden sacrifices, were more powerful than their shallow deceit. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to plead. I was going to expose the rot at the core of their actions using the foundation of my own quiet integrity. The turning point wasn't about despair. It was about a chilling, absolute resolve. I would reclaim not just the ring, but my power. And I knew exactly how I was going to do it. It wouldn't be loud or dramatic. It would be surgical. I spent days gathering documentation. Bank statements showing transfers to the university, loan documents with my signature, emails with the advisor, receipts for payments I'd made on her behalf over the years. A meticulous paper trail spanning half a decade. Proof of a sacrifice they never knew existed. Proof that while they were calculating how to use a symbol of my love to fix some immediate, questionable problem, I had been quietly investing in Clara's entire future, asking for nothing in return. I didn't confront Mark with it. I didn't call Clara and unleash my fury. That wasn't the plan. The plan was to let the truth detonate in their carefully constructed world. I chose my moment. I sent a package to Clara. Inside, a simple note. Just some old documents I thought you might want for your records, and enclosed the entire file. The bank statements, the loan papers, everything. No explanation, no accusation. Just the raw, irrefutable proof of who had truly paid for her education and the scale of the sacrifice involved. I tracked the delivery. I knew the day it arrived. I imagined her opening it, sifting through the papers, the slow dawning of understanding. The realization that the sister whose ring she'd taken, whose marriage she'd helped poison, had been the silent force behind her ability to even get her degree in the first place. That the woman she had betrayed had been her lifeline. I didn't see her. I didn't speak to her. I just waited. The silence after sending the package was tense, humming with anticipation. I went through the motions of my days, but inside, I was coiled tight, ready. Then the phone call. It was Clara. Her voice was thick with tears, choked with emotion. She wasn't defensive this time. She was shattered. She kept repeating my name, a broken whisper. You did that? All this time? She asked about the papers, the loans, the money. I confirmed it, my voice flat. I didn't need to explain my feelings. The documents spoke volumes. There was a long pause. Then, she said, I'm coming over. I need to see you. I didn't say yes or no. I just hung up the phone. I knew Mark would be home soon. I waited. The doorbell rang just as Mark's car pulled into the driveway. I opened the door. Clara stood there, eyes red-rimmed, clutching a small box. Mark walked up behind her, a questioning look on his face. "What's going on?" he asked, glancing between us. Clara didn't answer him. She looked directly at me. Her lip trembled. Without a word, she held out her hand, and in her outstretched palm, nestled against the pale skin, was the pear-shaped diamond. My ring. She didn't say sorry. She didn't offer an excuse. She just stood there, offering it back, her face a mask of grief and shame. And that's when Mark froze. He hadn't expected this. He'd expected me to chase her, to beg, maybe even threaten her. He'd expected Clara to stand by him, to keep the secret, to keep the ring or the money from it. He'd expected me to be the one losing. But Clara, blindsided by the truth of my sacrifice, had folded. My quiet act of generosity from years ago, unknown to him, had just undone his entire scheme. He looked at the ring, then at Clara, then at me. The shock on his face morphed into something ugly, disbelief, panic, and finally, rage. He opened his mouth to speak, probably to demand an explanation from Clara, to try and regain control of the narrative. But before he could, Clara stepped forward and placed the ring directly into my hand. The cold metal felt heavy, solid, real. It was back. She didn't look at Mark. She looked only at me. I'm sorry, she whispered, the words barely audible. Then, she turned and walked away, quickly, without looking back. The three of us were left standing there. Me holding my ring. Mark, standing frozen, his face a mask of disbelief and fury. The silence stretched, thick with unspoken accusations and shattered illusions. He hadn't known. He hadn't known I paid for Clara's college. He hadn't known that the sister he thought he could manipulate and use to hurt me had a secret debt of gratitude to me that dwarfed his petty scheme. My years of quiet sacrifice had just detonated in his face, exposed his deceit, and severed his alliance with Clara in one swift, unexpected move. He was completely blindsided. The victim had not only gotten the stolen goods back, but had dismantled the conspiracy using a hidden strength he never knew existed. The ring felt different in my hand now. It wasn't just a symbol of a broken promise. It was a symbol of my own resilience, my own quiet power. It was back, but the life it represented was gone. Mark stood there, speechless, his eyes finally meeting mine. There was no charm left, no arrogance, just the naked fear of a man whose control had just evaporated. He finally spoke, his voice hoarse. You paid for her college. The question wasn't really a question. It was the dawning, horrifying realization of the depth of my secret, the quiet calculation that had just undone him. I didn't answer him. I didn't need to. The ring in my hand, the retreating figure of my sister, the look on his face, it all spoke louder than any words. The victory was mine, cold and sharp. It was the end of one story and the beginning of another, one where I was no longer the one being used, but the one holding the pieces. The house felt even emptier after Clara left. Mark stood there for a long time, silent. His shock slowly ebbed, replaced by a simmering resentment that I could practically taste in the air. He tried to talk, tried to twist the situation, tried to make it about how I'd been secretly funding my sister behind his back. But his words had lost their power. He was exposed. I didn't engage. I walked past him, into the living room and sat down. I looked at the ring in my hand. It sparkled, oblivious to the storm it had caused. It felt heavy, not with love or promise anymore, but with the weight of betrayal and the strange, cold satisfaction of vindication. I didn't feel joy. The victory was too costly. My marriage was irreparable. The foundation of trust had been pulverized. My relationship with Clara was wounded, maybe beyond repair. It was hard to reconcile the sister I had quietly sacrificed for with the woman who had accepted my stolen ring. Guilt might have driven her to return it, but the initial act of taking it, of participating in Mark's deceit, lingered like a bad taste. Mark eventually retreated to his study, slamming the door. The silence returned, but it was a different kind of silence now. Not empty, but charged. The silence before the next storm, perhaps, but this time, I felt ready. I spent the next few days in a detached state.
You packed a bag.
I made calls to a lawyer. The house that had been our home felt like a museum of broken promises. Every object, every corner, held a memory, now tainted. The ring sat on the bedside table. I looked at it often. It was beautiful, objectively, but its meaning had been irrevocably altered. It was no longer a symbol of forever. It was a symbol of a lie, a painful lesson, a turning point. I didn't wear it again. I couldn't. It felt foreign, heavy, a weight on my finger that I couldn't bear. Clara sent me texts, tearful apologies, explanations that still felt inadequate. I read them, but didn't respond immediately. The wound was too fresh, the questions too many.
How could she?
How could they? Mark avoided me, sensing the shift in power. He was like a cornered animal, licking his wounds, calculating his next move. But his best move had been checkmated by a secret he never knew existed. The aftermath is quiet, not peaceful. It's the silence after an explosion, where the dust is still settling and the true scale of the damage is just becoming apparent. I have my ring back, but I lost my husband and maybe my sister in the process. Was it worth it? Getting the ring back felt like reclaiming a piece of myself that had been stolen. It wasn't just an object. It was a tangible representation of the deceit. Having it back felt like saying, "You don't get to keep this. You don't get to use this part of me." The future is uncertain. Divorce feels inevitable. The relationship with Clara, I don't know. Maybe someday there can be healing. But the trust is shattered. The knowledge that they conspired, that they used my love and my symbols against me, is a scar that won't fade easily. I hold the ring sometimes. It's just metal and stone. But it carries the weight of years, of love, of betrayal, and of a silent strength that I didn't fully realize I possessed until it was tested. I don't know what I'll do with it. Maybe sell it. Use the money for my new life. Maybe keep it. A cold reminder of the day I learned the truth about the people I loved, and the day I fought back, not with anger, but with a quiet, devastating truth. If this story hit close to home, I'd love to hear your version. Drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is. Thanks for being here. Subscribing helps bring more of these to life.